Every single evening, a quiet vanishing happens right outside your window. One moment, your backyard is a bustling arena of color and motion. A brilliant male cardinal is cracking sunflower seeds at the tray. Chickadees are darting through the lower branches of the maple tree, and a lone robin is pulling an earthworm from the damp grass in the fading twilight. Then, in a span of barely 20 minutes, a sudden silence falls. The feeders stand completely abandoned. The branches are frozen. The patch of land that was teeming with energy just an hour ago suddenly looks like a deserted world. Where did they all go? Most of us naturally assume that the birds simply head off to some vague, comfortable resting spot in the neighborhood, perhaps sleeping casually on a high branch or tucked away in a nearby park, waiting out the night until humans start watching again. But the structural reality of what happens between dusk and dawn is far more calculated, highly strategic, and infinitely stranger than you have ever been led to believe. While you are sound asleep tonight, the very same birds that visit your morning feeders will engage in a series of extreme physiological maneuvers, brutal survival tactics, and massive secret journeys that would completely break your breath if you could witness them in real time. Tonight, we are bypassing the daytime canopy to dissect the hidden mechanics of the avian night shift. We will uncover how these fragile creatures intentionally manipulate their own internal biology, weaponize absolute physical confinement, and turn the dark sky above your roof into a multi-million-passenger superhighway. Welcome back to Bird Secrets. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel before we begin, because the hidden operations we are exposing tonight happen every single evening right under your nose, and it will permanently change the way you look at a simple feather. Stay with us until the very end, because our final destination takes us straight into the open night air directly above your house, where a biological phenomenon of such staggering scale takes place that most human minds can barely comprehend its volume. Let us step into the dark. 1. The sanctuary blueprint. Precision hiding in the undergrowth. When the sun dips below the horizon, the primary threat to a backyard bird shifts instantly from resource scarcity to extreme predatory vulnerability. A sleeping bird is an easy target, meaning the selection of a nighttime roost is a matter of life and death. The northern cardinal approaches this problem with rigid territorial discipline. Cardinals refuse to travel far from their daytime feeding zones when the light fades. Instead, during the final hour of dusk, you will observe them dropping low into the landscape, slipping quietly into the absolute densest vegetation available. Typically a tangled thicket of wild briars, a mature evergreen shrub, or a heavily matted wall of English ivy. This choice is a masterclass in visual cloaking. The cardinal isn't seeking a warm blanket, it is seeking complete invisibility from the nocturnal eyes of foraging owls and roaming ground predators. These birds are creatures of profound habit, returning to the exact same square foot of dense holly or thick arborvitae hedge night after night, week after week. If you possess a mature, overgrown evergreen in your yard, it is highly probable that a cardinal has spent the entire winter sleeping deeply inside its core, completely hidden from your view. 2. Regulated hypothermia. The 11-gram shutdown. While the cardinal relies on architectural concealment, the black-capped chickadee survives the night through radical, high-stakes biological manipulation. In the dead of winter, when temperatures plummet far below freezing, a chickadee faces a terrifying mathematical equation. This tiny creature weighs a mere 11 grams, roughly the equivalent of 2 copper pennies. Its surface area-to-mass ratio is profoundly unforgiving, meaning it loses body heat to the freezing air at an alarming rate. To maintain its standard daytime body temperature of 108 degrees Fahrenheit through a bitter 10-hour night would require burning through fat reserves it simply cannot physically store. To survive, the chickadee executes a physiological shutdown known to researchers as regulated hypothermia. As darkness falls, the bird deliberately overrides its internal thermostat, allowing its core body temperature to drop by up to 22 degrees Fahrenheit. Simultaneously, its metabolic rate slows to a crawl, and its heart rate drops precipitously. The chickadee is no longer asleep in any conventional sense. It has placed itself into a state of controlled clinical torpor. 3. The survival crunch. The chaos of communal roosting. The territorial boundaries that define daytime backyard behavior are completely shattered the moment winter survival mechanics take over. During the spring breeding season, the eastern bluebird is an aggressively defensive creature. A nesting male will relentlessly attack any rival that dares to approach his chosen territory. But when the brutal cold fronts of January arrive, that fierce individualism is instantly traded for raw tactical cooperation. 4. The half-awake brain. Inside unihemispheric sleep, even when a bird is safely tucked inside a cavity or a dense hedge, it never completely switches off its connection to reality. The avian brain has evolved a terrifying defensive mechanism that allows it to achieve deep physical recovery without ever surrendering total situational awareness. This state of split-brain vigilance is scientifically classified as unihemispheric slow-wave sleep. In plain terms, many bird species are entirely capable of sleeping with one eye wide open. While one hemisphere of the brain enters a deep, restorative sleep state, the opposite hemisphere remains fully awake, processing live visual data fed directly from the open eye. After a set period, the brain automatically flips the script, closing the active eye, opening the resting one, and switching the internal sleep state to the opposite side. This distributed defensive network was famously mapped by researchers tracking flocks of mallard ducks. Ducks sleeping along the outer perimeter of a group consistently kept their outward-facing eye wide open, scanning the dark horizon for approaching foxes or cats, while the ducks insulated in the center of the flock safely closed both eyes. 5. The midnight choir. Artificial light and nocturnal panic. We naturally categorize backyard birds into neat behavioral boxes. Owls belong exclusively to the dark, while songbirds are dedicated entirely to the sun. But modern human infrastructure has severely disrupted this ancient biological divide, revealing strange behavioral quirks in our most common avian neighbors. The American robin is a prime example of this evolutionary friction. Robins possess highly sensitive visual systems, designed to exploit the very first cracks of morning light, making them the classic leaders of the traditional dawn chorus. However, the explosion of artificial light at night, across modern suburban and urban landscapes, has thoroughly hijacked their hormonal pathways. When high-intensity streetlights, security floods, and architectural LEDs illuminate a backyard, the resident robins process the visual wavelengths as a permanent artificial dawn. As a direct result, robins in suburban neighborhoods routinely break into full, triumphant song at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. If you have ever stepped outside in the dead of winter or early spring and heard a lone bird singing beautifully in the pitch black, you weren't listening to a confused anomaly. You were witnessing a robin whose internal endocrine system was being actively manipulated by artificial lumens. 6. The river in the sky. Radar data and the billing passenger fleet. Everything we have discussed so far takes place within the physical boundaries of your fences, branches, and gutters. But if we expand our forensic lens upward, looking past the roof lines and straight into the open night sky, we uncover the most massive secret operation in the entire natural world. Twice a year, during the peak weeks of spring and autumn, the dark air above your neighborhood transforms into an absolute torrent of biological motion. The vast majority of North American songbirds do not migrate during the day. The tiny wood thrush that spent the summer singing from your oak trees, the brilliant warblers, and the diminutive ruby-throated hummingbird all execute their massive continental journeys under the absolute cover of pitch-black darkness. They choose the night for 2 very specific reasons. The atmosphere is significantly cooler and more stable, preventing their tiny, hard-working bodies from overheating, and the predatory hawks that dominate the daytime skies are completely grounded. Meteorologists historically had to develop specialized filtering algorithms simply to distinguish the echo of billions of beating avian wings from actual incoming weather fronts. A ruby-throated hummingbird, carrying a fuel payload of less than 3 grams of stored fat, will cross the open waters of the Gulf of Mexico in a grueling 20-hour non-stop flight before flying directly over your suburban town, driven entirely by a genetic blueprint that has remained unbroken for millions of years. The truth is always deeper than the surface. This has been birds' secrets. Stay curious, keep your feeders full, and look closer at the dark spaces in your yard. If you want to continue uncovering the hidden operations of the avian world, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now so we can explore the next secret layer together. Keep your eyes on the trees, protect the night, and never underestimate the power hidden beneath a single feather. Tell me in the comments below, have you ever caught your backyard birds operating in the dark? Let's talk about it.